Yeah. I know. We are recording now. So I'm going to say to everybody, this is last week today. I'm Chuck
Mhm.
Black. I'm with Al Calder, and we are going over the top stories of the week on Freedom Forum News.
Mhm.
And it's been a wild and incredible week, hasn't it?
Well, this is gonna be a busy. Chuck was just chatting to myself about how we would like to keep it a bit streamlined kind of show, and I said, Chuck, we have so much news to talk about. I couldn't see how this is possible, and it's true. This has been an insane week for what we've been covering, Chuck. It really is, though.
I would say that that's true. This is what do we got? We got like a dozen protests over the
Mhm.
last 4 or 5 days. What else do we have? Let's go down to the bottom.
Yeah.
I think this is we might as well do this in statistical order. That's last week's program that we do this
Mhm.
every Monday night. And good gosh, I suppose we might as well start with the tens of thousands signing a petition to end lockdown closures of small businesses in Ontario. This has been
Mhm.
going on for long more than a week. And I don't know. To me, this is pretty wild.
Hey, is it though, Chuck? This is not wild. It's wild that this has not happened prior to this, though, for real. And this
Yeah.
fits in. I'm going to jump into this and say what I always say, Chuck, about my French Revolution analogy then about the petty bourgeoisie, or this is the rise of the petty bourgeoisie, and that's how revolutions will need to work, and that's how this is going to start working, and that's just how it happens.
I would say absolutely. This is from the blog TO. Their post tens of thousands signed petition to end lockdown closures of small businesses in Ontario.
So how many millions were
Liberty,
there?
fraternity, huh?
How many millions were there? I imagine. I wonder.
Yeah,
They,
I know. I would say there's several tens of thousands. I
I
bet they
know.
got that photo on Twitter. I don't know anybody at Blog TO who actually goes outside.
Mm.
Uh, but the big argument here is people are objecting not so much to the lockdowns, although the lockdowns have been, good God, over a year at this point, 13
Agreed.
months.
That's
Isn't that
crazy.
bizarre? Yeah, at this point, we've created an entire generation of people who don't really want to work anymore. I know if I had a choice of sitting home all day and uh, watching YouTube videos and playing online games, I would certainly choose that.
Mhm.
I see many friends, many colleagues, many associates who gain 20, 30 pounds and they walk hunched over now and take antidepressants. A lot of them take antidepressants. Uh, and the businesses, I mean, who do you know in the restaurant industry that has had enough money to survive a year of lockdowns? To me, it's
No
just
one.
nuts. Yeah,
In no industry, Chuck.
yeah, it's completely nuts.
It's not nuts. It's if you were just say you look at the results of it, work backwards, then you would
Yeah,
think to yourself like where the crazy started was at the start.
yeah,
You know what I mean? This is easily traceable to how this went down.
yeah. I also think that oh God, this is another one of my news stories. One of my favorite stories. Are you prepared for a new normal of flash mobs, revolutionaries, and a lower standard of living? This
Yeah.
actually came from activist posts. It's talking about what things are like in Portland right now, other major American cities. Uh, I note now that everything's 10, 15, 20% more expensive than it used to be last year.
Mhm.
Uh, Construction costs for buildings in particular are like 40 or 50% higher than they were last year. Good thing we uh, don't have enough time to go through Home Depot in the same sort of fashion as we used to. We'd find that a lot of new inflation has crept into that place over the last year. And I don't know. We're this is our future.
Chuck, this is our present, Chuck. Like that, you say things like that. It's as if you give it up already, Chuck. That well, I guess like we did what we could. I'm just going to fight a bridge and jump off of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. So many of the people I work with, I agree. This is our present. This need not be our future.
Exactly,
But
Chuck.
particularly with the new lockdowns in Ontario over the last week, To me, this is a really bizarro thing. Also,
Chuck, here's what I say to that. Okay, you know what? We're good. We're fine still. Don't worry. Nothing's
yeah,
changed. We're good.
I think probably, but I also note that even legacy business associations, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, old, venerable, fine and upstanding citizens, they say the latest Ontario lockdown puts thousands of businesses at risk. Frankly, Al, I didn't know there were thousands of businesses left in Ontario.
Yeah, they're at risk. You know, they're walking out there. And I found out any businesses that are left are obviously at risk. Like,
Yeah, that to me is completely nuts. This also notes Doug Ford announced on Wednesday that the province will be put under super secret double probationary lockdown.
well, they've been working so well. I couldn't.
Yeah,
They should put those lockdowns in the water for our safety. You know, it just is insane that people still don't still respond to them and follow them. It's just crazy. I don't get it.
I've been seeing memes on Twitter and YouTube saying
Mhm.
that if the lockdowns work, how come we're having another one?
How many years have you have these scheduled for?
Yeah, and if the lockdowns don't work, how come we're having another one?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the solution to lockdowns is probably more lockdowns.
Absolutely. According to Dan Kelly,
Mhm.
the president of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, 74,000 businesses in Ontario are considering permanent closure after the first two shutdowns. That's like half of the
Mhm.
registered independent businesses in Ontario.
Where's he been?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's. I think actually I don't know. I think he's in Ottawa.
I didn't mean literally, Chuck. I was a mildly rhetorical question then, but I mean that they have needed someone to speak up for them for a long, long time. They're the ones who are going to solve this problem.
Yeah, I lobbed in a request to interview Mr. Kelly, but he hasn't got back to us yet. Maybe he's uncomfortable. There was such a consensus that we got to stand behind Doug Ford a year ago at the beginning of this. Now he's lost all his credibility. He even looks kind of nervous and goofy in that picture.
Has he gained weight?
Yeah, I'd say
Uh,
it
uh,
doesn't go out very much anymore.
yeah, well, I was kidding, but how can you tell?
Yeah,
I was just a joke on that then. But anyway, this story's fine. But I'm pissed off. The same thing. The rise of the petty bourgeoisie is promised.
yeah. Businesses are defying lockdowns. I
Mhm.
think that's an interesting story this week as well. Family Kitchen. There's a video on YouTube about that,
Yeah.
about all the people in the restaurant who essentially were eating breakfast, and they told the by law enforcement officers and the police to go away. They were having breakfast, and I think that's a really good sign. So many people. I also noted that there seems to be just as many people outside these days, just as many businesses open. Sometimes the businesses seem to only have door services, but at least in downtown Toronto, where I've been, just as many people going to the park these days. It doesn't seem to be anybody less going outside. Maybe it's just the weather.
Well, it's 100% the weather, Chuck. I mean, where were they? Were they there in February? You know,
Yeah, they weren't there.
because no one was there because it's crappy though. But now is the time that people will leave their houses though.
Yeah. Next two stories cause me concern. This is an editorial from Pastor Henry Hildebrandt about Pastor James Coates. This happened a couple days back, April 8th, I believe, when Grace Life Church, Pastor Coates Church, was locked down and locked up by Alberta Health Services and provincial RCMP after Coates was released from prison, where he was essentially a prisoner of conscience for, I don't know, 35 days. And now that they've let him out and they've withdrawn all but one of the charges, which Coates absolutely wants to deal with in church or in court, starting I guess May something or other. The police have barricaded and shut down his church because they got to get at him somehow.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
Yeah. Hildebrand has come out in favor of Coates. He doesn't know him from Adam, but well, I imagine every pastor knows Adam. But
Hey, we went to hang out, pardon me, with Reverend Hildebrand, Pastor Hildebrand rather, at his
yeah,
house, and we even spoke about this coach thing too. Then,
yeah,
and we're as I mentioned, we're on the same team, even if we don't agree with everything. Because
yeah.
what Coates is doing is a very important.
Yep. And what's happening here are these churches across the country are starting to build ties and come together over this. And I think that's a good thing. One thing I did notice, a press release from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, which is representing Coates. They said that the Alberta government is trying to delay the May 3rd trial of Pastor Coates. That'll give them longer to barricade the church and mess up his flock.
Yeah, he'll be fine though.
Well, that strikes me as being very, very, very communist Chinese.
Oh,
Very,
where's my thesaurus, Chuck? There's 1,000 words I could use that I wouldn't be publishable here too. What they're doing.
yeah. No, I think that's just an
It's
absolute
disgusting. It's a
awful
tragedy.
thing. Yeah. The prosecutor in this case is arguing that he needs more time to put together a scientific and medical basis to justify his violations of fundamental charter freedoms. And Hildebrand in particular said, the guy had 13 months. If he doesn't have it ready to go now, he never will.
Aren't the courts closed for Christ's sake? Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, they've mostly been closed.
You've probably been golfing somewhere warm in like Cuba or something like that.
Yeah, I find this absolutely shocking, absolutely offensive. Keep in mind, these are really important stories happening in Canada that all seem to have taken place over the last week, and we're not even at the good stuff yet.
Let's get going, Chuck. Let's do it.
Work, work, work. Also note that Alberta's Christian right is taking on Jason Kenney. He's the government in Alberta that's persecuting Pastor Coates. I also note that he was supposed to give a big press conference today in order to respond to almost a revolt. 16 members of his United Conservative caucus sent him a letter last week saying the lockdowns are nuts. You better change your mind now.
Yeah, I saw it. That's a big deal too, isn't it, Chuck?
Yeah, but he didn't respond to it. All he said is, if everybody keeps at this for just a little bit longer, by September everything will be back to normal.
Oh, and other leaders have tried this stuff as well. Then by throwing people out of their caucus too, though. Right?
Yeah.
Is he conservative here, Chuck?
Yeah, Kenney, pretty much conservative. The United Conservative Party is an amalgamation of what used to be the Wild Rose Party, I think, and then
the Reform or what the hell, whatever the hell.
Yeah, they're close to conservative.
Yeah.
They're about as close as you can get.
Well,
Rachel Notley is his is the leader of the opposition. And Rachel Notley is sort of like Marie Antoinette. She wants everybody to be burned at the stake.
Yeah, she will
close down. Yeah,
what my point was about to be is that the Conservative Party throwing people out of caucus if they had the wrong messages that they were saying that were contrary to the leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenney's press conference today happened early. He avoided, I think there was 500 or 1,000 protesters up in front of his building. And he intentionally didn't want to talk to anybody. It was perceived as being a big thing. It was so big that even Max Bernier of the People's Party of Canada was there on site. He wanted to talk to somebody, but nobody wanted to talk to him.
So I guess he was undebatable again. You bring Max Bernier, now another politician will not want to talk about any debates or what have you.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening. But What else is going on over here? The Liberty Network, a little thing. The anti-lockdown caucus had a meeting in Vancouver on Saturday as part of their weekly Saturday protest at the Vancouver Art Gallery, and Ramon Babar was there. Tanya Gosh, she's the organizer at Action for Canada. I think she controls the database of the organization. Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, Max Bernier, Derek Sloan, and a bunch of other people. They're getting together, and they were talking about things they can do to move forward. I note today, I haven't looked at it, but the BC government, Bonnie Henry is talking about how got to go into more serious lockdowns again for BC as well.
Has anyone ever justified this with proof ever?
Oh, of course not.
No.
They explain that they're consulting with top people, top people, like the Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, Chuck. We all know what the results are. That the thing, like, who these people don't trust me. They know what they're doing. They're doctors for pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, that's what I think. Have a lot of respect for the Liberty Network out west. They've been doing a bang up job in putting together a solid group, and I think they may run some useful people in the next federal election.
I agree with that. Chuck.
One of the organizers.
Yeah.
A lot of respect for that man.
So how Vlad's the best, But so how included in that is he? How involved is he in that thing?
I think he's doing a lot of door-to-door activism, and he's doing a lot of making sure the candidates get their I don't know how much they need out there, 350 signatures or 150 signatures before they become formal candidates, and I think he's helping some of them raise money. So I got a lot of respect for that guy.
Hey, Chuck, I know you're in a hurry, but remember, here's my experience with Vlad. You're with me, I think. I had a bunch of stuff I was carrying with me to go to Queen's Park at the time, and he came with. I had my car. We were bringing some stuff or whatever, camera work or whatever doing, and he ran over to our car where my crap was, and he helped us unload it and to bring my chair and stuff to the Queen's Park thing. Remember that? And I was like, he was just he's just a hardworking guy, and I could see he'd be the best asset at ground level for sure. He's great.
I agree. And what else is happening this week? This is one of my favorite pieces. This is the Human Resources Professional Association. They have prepared a course for employers who don't like your politics. If you're a racist, or an anti-masker, or there's a lot of overlap between the two, evidently, or an anti-vaxxer. If you hate vaccines, you're obviously anti-medicine, and you think the Earth is the center of the universe and the sun revolves around it. Yeah, and I talked about this with I made a phone call to the law firm that's putting on the course, and I talked to them about, this doesn't look very good. It sounds like you're trying to get rid of people in corporate environments just because they got the wrong political ideas. And he's and the senior lawyer at the firm didn't want to do an interview with me, but he said that if I really want to learn more, I should pay him money to go to the seminar. So I don't know if he'd take me in the seminar, but well, here's
lawyer,
hoping.
Right? Hey, Chuck,
yeah, he's a lawyer.
You said he's a lawyer, did you, Chuck?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Christopher Akar. Yeah, he's a lawyer.
You don't understand his name, Chuck. What I was suggesting that was that they like money. They like money more than they like their morality?
So he'll take money.
He'll take, you don't know what he'll do for money, I predict.
Yeah, fair enough. That's the website of the Human Resource Professional Association, and his law clerk, Mr. Achkar's law clerk, got back to me via email, said, tried to get time for you and Chris to talk. We were unable to do so. And he's very aware of the rights under the law. And, if I really want to learn more, I should go to the seminar. So who
He knows
knows?
his rights. He knows his rights, Chuck.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen? And I'm sorry, we're zooming
All right.
through everything quite so quickly this week. We got 6
Summer
more
break.
left. Yeah,
Let's do it.
going like
Let's
the
go, Chuck.
wind. This is something frightening. Montreal has been in a lockdown and a curfew for 12 weeks at this point. The curfew was supposed to come in for 2 weeks only. It's been extended. It's now at 12 weeks. Protests have started up since the curfew was shortened. It was extended from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at some point over the holidays. And now it's back to 8 p.m. again. And nobody knows why, because fewer people have the virus, fewer cases are being measured, but evidently the modeling says there's going to be more cases coming down the pipe soon.
That's bullshit. Why though? That is bullshit, and no one. Why don't they show what the hell the modeling is then? Why don't they prove this stuff in court? Why don't they prove in court and make this constitutional then, so they can get away with it?
I don't know, but I also
Yes.
worry that they've started to arrest independent news reporters who are trying to cover the protests, who are trying to cover the arrests. That causes me concern. That means that they don't really want to get any information out. They just want to maintain control.
They want to prevent information from getting out.
Yeah, Rebel News was up and functioning again last night. David Menzies was in the midst of quite a riot. It looked like Lebanon, or it looked like Nam.
Sort of. I mean, people were there was a lot of big crowd. People were burning things. That's fine. That's Montreal's a lot of fun sometimes. Even that's most weekends in Montreal, maybe. But it seemed like fun. But he was fine. He was okay with it. He was okay with the whole thing.
His voice sounded really hoarse at the end of it. He was yelling with the best of them. But
I agree, but it's because he was yelling. This is why his voice was so hoarse.
Yeah, what was it? Montreal police arrested between 7 and 10 people, depending on the news source you follow, and they ticketed between 100 and 140 people. Again, depending on the news source you followed.
Those tickets are verging on provably unenforceable these days, then too.
Yeah, I don't know anybody sane who would ever pay one of those things, because they never get. Even my parents have noted that in Alberta, anybody getting a ticket under the provincial lockdown regulations, tickets get thrown out. Just nobody cares.
Okay. Well, it's not. It's worse. I think I read, Chuck. I know we're speeding through this about how the system. Then, if you want to refuse them in court, you have 15 days to do it. Then, right?
Yeah.
But then they're saying that it takes longer than that to update that in the system, and so every time someone refuses it, they're getting a notice saying that there's no infraction because they've already expired the date of it.
Yeah, there are so many ways. I think the government is intentionally trying to make it very, very difficult to bring some of these cases to court. They don't want the court to go against them.
And someone must have read the Constitution to them.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Does anyone have any proof of this? This document's crazy. It's so onerous on the poor governments here. Can someone prove this? Oh no! Oh sure. What's to do? Anyway.
Here's the protest story on the protest breaking out in Montreal after the COVID curfew announced. I feel guilty that we didn't get out there on the weekend. It looked like there was some incredible parties going on. But
it's probably still snowing in Montreal. That's my excuse.
No. Viva Free, the lawyer blog, he said it was warm enough to walk his dog in a t-shirt. He did a post just a day or so ago where he talked about Viva Free?
He puts t-shirts on his dogs?
Yeah, he walks his dogs, because if you walk your dog, you're allowed to take your dog out after curfew in Montreal, just so long as you don't walk more than a mile away from your home. How's that for a rule?
I believe that the word you're looking for is shame, by the way, Chuck.
Yeah.
That's kidding.
It's like one of the stupidest rules I've ever come across.
Just throw it on the pile of stupid rules that we were forced to follow that we are not following.
Yeah. It's just so bizarre.
What's next?
2 more pieces. Bernier among demonstrators. Nobody wanted to talk to him. The latest Brandon.
What do you feel about that, Chuck?
I don't know. I worked. I did some campaign work for the BBC.
I'll have a piece to say about it as well.
Okay.
I also did some mild work on the campaign as well, and I felt that it was just so hopeless. and he is just never going to win anything. And he associates himself with people that are not going to help him.
Yeah, I think so too. He doesn't want to get too locked into any group, so he doesn't commit
Mhm.
to them, so they don't commit to him. And I was in a news group with people who were in favor of Bernier a couple of weeks back, and one of the people started saying, "We've got to tell the organizers what to do." And I explained, but the organizers
Yeah.
judge you based on whether or not you go to the protest, maybe whether you stood shoulder to shoulder with them when the police were coming down,
Mhm.
whether or not you've opened up your business, whether or not you put any sort of skin in the game whatsoever. You are a Facebook warrior, and nobody's going to take you seriously. And all the
Okay.
PPC people said, "Oh my God, I can't believe that! How dare you say it!"
It's unbelievable, Chuck, as well. I would totally agree with that too. How some of these candidates, though, with PPC last time were having allegedly hard time getting their signatures to be running as a candidate until they had someone walk with them, hold their hand, and take them to the door and hold the pen.
Yeah, I'll have you note that I resemble that remark.
I was talking about you, Chuck, by the way.
That was a long time ago. I don't begrudge
I was young. I needed the money. Got you, Chuck.
I don't begrudge Bernier for what he's doing.
No,
I think he's sort of a wussy candidate.
he's
I think he's got to get on the front lines and start to advocate. He's got to be a little more Chris Sky like.
he's barely also ran. Like, truth be told, I am surprised that people would follow him. If I'm serious though about that, Chuck.
Well, I only follow him on Facebook.
Yeah, well, you know what? He follows himself on Facebook enough to confuse the issues in that case. Then,
Yeah, I don't think he's the solution anymore. I
no,
appreciate that he's going out. I who knows? Maybe members of the lockdown caucus, Hillier or Sloan or one of the other ones.
yeah,
Maybe at some point they will come up with something.
those people I think would have a better chance than Bernier.
Yeah, I would say so too. Speaking of Chris Sky, after much fuss and bother, Chris Sky explains why you shouldn't get the vaccine. That was an interesting 2 hour
Yeah,
video with Chris, with a number of other people who are in the movement. I think it's a nice overview of a lot of useful things. It's on odyssey.com, which is one of 24 video upload sites on the net now that are competing for all the people that have been killed off of YouTube for the last 2 years. So I think there's a good future in independent video production. We just gotta find out where it is. YouTube is dumb. They even finally canceled James Corbett last week.
he won't even care.
No, he won't because he knew it was coming.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've always gone to his well, I've been going to his site for a while then as well as per his suggestion too.
Yeah,
It just makes more sense though.
yeah. What we need to be doing is setting up independent websites and doing the social media and congregating on places like Odyssey and on
Yeah,
BitChute and on Rumble and places like that. And we will do well. YouTube will die much the same way as social media campaigns in the past. One more thing I want to mention: the latest Brandon B show.
yeah.
Canada's Frontline Nurses, one of their founders, Sarah Chojuian, on the Brandon B show. She will be in Toronto
Mhm.
on Wednesday, protesting against the censoring of nurses. This is Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. I will put up the link in the show notes. She will be speaking along with a great many others at 101 Davenport Road in Toronto, Ontario. It should be an interesting protest, and I'm going to be there.
I was thinking about going as well, Chuck, but yeah, anyway, I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna go.
Did we miss anything tonight?
Yes, we did actually. The one I want to talk about
Ooh.
is the Joshua, or rather the websites and censorship stuff against publications.
Oh, I forgot about that. That one's important.
I know.
Sorry about that. That might be the most important
I
one.
agree, 100% correct.
Talk about it.
There's new legislation with shutting down websites for hurtful words against politicians. I imagine they won't work. The technology is likely not going to be enforceable then. has a government workaround that involves like jails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, they just want people who are saying nasty things about politicians to be censored.
Yeah.
That's the
And
entire point of it. And
yeah.
that is obscene that they have no one to say anything bad about the politicians then. Like, what the hell do we have an opposition for or the for them?
I don't know. Nobody in any opposition party should be willing to let legislation like this go by.
No one in any party should be willing to let this go through them because they're not going to be in charge forever unless
Yeah.
they're on the same team already.
Yeah. It does sort of look like they are all on the same team.
Well, don't worry. Now I get to be in charge, and then you can be in charge. We'll switch back and forth, but no one's going to go to jail no matter what we do. So let's just play nice and not say mean things about each other. Can we agree on that?
I agree. I respect Blacklock's reporter. They are a 5-person shop out of Ottawa that focuses primarily on federal politics. They've generated a lot of scoops over the last 2 years, and they make decent coin for themselves. I find something like this very difficult to avoid. I noticed that Ezra Levant at Rebel has also talked about this, but virtually nobody else in the legacy media wants to bring it up. Globe and Mail, they don't think they'll be censored.
They can't afford to.
Yeah.
Like literally, they can't afford to. That's the bread and butter then.
Yeah, they get so much money from the government anyway.
They don't bite the hand that feeds you. Then you don't need to sell news if you can get the money for free from the government. Then
absolutely, and I've heard stories that this legislation is going to be tabled formally as early as the middle part of May, and the Liberals think they're going to win any election they call over the next year or so because the population is solidly behind them on the COVID issue.
Did you say so goddamn stupid?
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, yeah, I know lots of people who prefer to stay at home. I mean, we've created a whole generation. We've ruined an entire year of schooling for our kids. Maybe we're going to ruin a second year by the time we're done. We've destroyed the restaurant industry. We've destroyed the travel industry. We're slowly destroying the real estate industry. At some point, all this fake money that's gone into the real estate prices to keep them sky high, that's going to disappear. We are not in a position to keep this up unless we print money. We are printing money. At some point, we are going to go the way of Venezuela.
I 100% agree with that, except Venezuela is more well organized than we are, though.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You know, and the thing is, they also have the second highest amount of oil reserves in the world.
Yeah, well, we got resources too. I mean, if you have resources, I think part of what's happening right now in Venezuela is that the government is itemizing its resources and selling those resources to multinational foreign countries as a way not to default on their loans and to stay within the world organization. That at some point will happen in Canada. If we don't get our budget under control, we will lose our rights to our water. We will lose our rights to our oil. We will lose our rights to our forest, our minerals. And
Chuck, by the way, speaking of rights, I believe though that the government of the United States had apprehended some oil tankers of Venezuela as well, and or if not, there's some oil shipment routines that they have been doing there and taking the oil same way they've done, I think, in Syria or something like that.
Yeah, they've been doing that just to cause trouble.
You know, it's as much as it's not for the oil, it's for prevention of the people whose oil it is from using the resources though from it.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's for money too. The foreign multinationals want to get their cuts.
They do, but it's better to have a cut when you can have someone who's at perpetual slavery than for this oil that they're trying to steal.
Yeah, and with that said and done, I think that's everything this week. Good God, you're right. It was a long time, and we tried to go through it so fast, we failed. I think we're coming up on 30 minutes right now.
You know, I'm not. I would assume be longer than that. Then I guess we didn't cover as much as I'd hoped.
Yeah. Well,
I have 23 more minutes to stuff to say.
We are at the point where we want to encourage everybody to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We want to keep going. We want to build up an audience. We want to get off YouTube. I think that's one of our goals this week.
Oh my God, we want everyone to get off YouTube then. Chuck, you know we didn't talk about though. We didn't talk about what happened in Toronto this weekend.
The protest?
At Trinity Bellwood, right?
We did. I covered it. I didn't post it on here. I covered it
Yeah,
on some of my social media.
yeah,
But
yeah.
there was a long parade starting in the usual place, went from
Oh, sorry,
Queens Park.
yeah, I was looking for the route on it. I just suggesting the fact that it went on then and went down. Then the cops hassled the bubble bus a bit,
Oh yeah,
and
we remember
then
the bubble bus from
and then
last
we
week.
went from the bubble bus over to Cherry Beach, more bubble bus, and more cops hassling them. But nothing. They didn't do anything. It's worth mentioning that they didn't do a thing again. They really
Yeah,
didn't. They were trying to stay out of the way.
we are lucky that we don't live in an environment like Montreal. But to be
You know?
fair, we were well on our way to becoming an environment like Montreal
We
in
went,
January.
we're one step away from that, Chuck.
Yeah.
But we were in that Montreal environment Montreal had in January here, Chuck.
No,
So was the bubble bus, by the way.
no, I do sympathize with that a lot. One more thing I'm going to do before we leave. Nuts.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna move? Maybe could you beg for money a bit, Chuck? Would that help? Or
I'm gonna
maybe
beg
get
for
better.
money for a bit. Yeah, I'm
Do,
gonna
do a
do.
really good job on it.
Yeah, I did. We need money.
Yeah.
Help fund our growth. We are not funded by the government. We are not funded by giant international foundations. We are funded by individual contributions from people like Elle and I.
Yeah.
So give now, give generously. We take PayPal, we take direct deposit,
Yeah.
or if you feel really ambitious, you can pay directly on our website. So give now, give often. Help make us, I don't know, a tenth as rich as the legacy media companies. Let's see if we can go for that this week.
I think the first step, Chuck, is I hate to feel like I'm braggarty here because of all these ties, and Chuck doesn't own a single tie. Like, help us out here.
I
Get Chuck a shirt with a collar and a tie. Let's bring him back into our age here.
got my turtleneck on. It's my tactical turtleneck in
In
case I have to go spying.
case you had to be professor from like the late '90s or something, Chuck. Come on.
Or a double knot spy.
Oh, but
And
never mind. Well, that's a mediocre job of Gucci for money, Chuck. That's why we're so broke. But I'm fine with that.
anyway, I think that's everything for tonight. I am Chuck Black. I am with Al Calder. This is last week today, and I hope you had a good time. We will see you again next week.